Hello and welcome to the GrapeSEED official podcast. We're back with another This and That episode. Welcome, Miklos.
Oh boy, this and that. I'm excited.
Yeah, so today's topic is comprehensible input. And we've talked about this a little bit off and on through other This and That episodes and then kind of mentioned it on the portal and other places. But this is going to be your one-stop shop for really getting into what comprehensible input is and why you should care about it. So let's start with Miklos. Can you tell us a definition of comprehensible input?
Yeah, comprehensible input is input that is comprehensible.
Okay, let's take another step there.
As a GrapeSEED teacher, what you say, the language that you speak, which is English, the things that you are conveying with words and of course with gestures and everything to your students, if it is understandable by your students, if they look at you and go, "Oh yeah, I get what that guy's saying," then that is for our purposes comprehensible input. Anything else, like the things like your teachers speak, like if when your students are around and you're talking to another teacher in English and about adult things, about teacher things and stuff that kids can't understand, that's the opposite of comprehensible input. That's like adult talk. That's basically just noise to your students. They might be able to hear a word here and there. Like you say, hey, if you're talking to a teacher, if I'm talking to you and it's like, hey, yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to go to this lecture and it's about comprehensible input. And and I'll come back, I'll teach my GrapeSEED classes. And then all of that, if your kids are standing around, they might just understand the word GrapeSEED. But everything else is just noise. And in order for your words to be effective for your students, you need to basically speak in terms of comprehensible input. And it is the crucial ingredient for acquiring language. That's the part that's the most important to remember, that acquiring language means that you need comprehensible input, because one of the differences between learning a language and acquiring it is that when you acquire language, you acquire it by understanding, by comprehending. So you need that comprehensible input. You learn by like memorizing and looking at grammar and like structures and stuff like that. You might not necessarily understand everything, even while you're learning the grammar for something. We see that all the time with adult learners, but with people who are acquiring language, like your GrapeSEED students, and they need to understand what's happening. They understand, and that's what helps them to begin speaking in English, not the other way around. So yeah, again, I mean, going back to the sort of humorous beginning, comprehensible input is just is input that is understandable by your students.
Yes, as opposed to random input. So another way you can think about this is, what percentage of the things you're saying to your students is understandable to them? So you had mentioned adult talk or talking in teacher speak or using vocabulary or language your students don't know yet. As much as possible as a GrapeSEED teacher, the things you're saying to your students, you want that percentage to be about as close to 100% as possible of what you're saying to your students being comprehensible to them, as opposed to random words. Because I think all of us have experienced this. If we're hearing another language that we don't know, our brains start to tune it out after a while. So if your students are in your classroom and let's say you're at 50% of the things you're saying to your students are comprehensible to them, but the other 50% are just random words they have no idea, they're going to start tuning out and not listening as much. And the words you're saying as a teacher, even the comprehensible ones, will have less impact because your students' brains are kind of switching off partway through the lesson. Yeah, and that leads to classroom management issues. And a lot of times kids, like, and adults too. Like if I'm in a meeting somewhere and it's in a language I don't understand, sometimes it's my native language. I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I tune out. I start looking at my phone or something like that. And the child version of that is, touching your friend, and like misbehavior. So but that's why the GrapeSEED curriculum is designed the way that it is, because it's designed around comprehensible input. That's why those first lessons that you do, those first 30 lessons, especially of Unit 1, it's super simple. Like
This might be a little bit extreme, but I think like if a Martian came from space into a GrapeSEED classroom for a Unit 1, Lesson 1 class, they should be able to understand and follow along what you're doing, because you don't. The kids in your class, it's their first day of English class. We're going to assume that on Unit 1, Lesson 1, the first day, it's the first day of English for all your kids, and on that day, what are you doing? Oh, stand up, sit down. Like you're saying it while you do it. So there's no way, even though your kids can't speak English yet, and they won't be able to for a bit, they can follow along and understand, because you're showing them, you're saying and doing at the same time. And when you're reading stories, you're pointing to oh, this is my father, this is my mother. And even though they're going to be working it out for a while, it's not noise. It's not. They're just like, oh, okay, I think I kind of get what this person's saying, and this kind of daily input. That's how we acquire language.
Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye. I'm sad to say goodbye. It was a good day, but now I will say goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.